Hey, this is Gale Nelson, President and CEO of Big Brothers Big Sisters Miami, the host of The Game of Life, where everybody makes the team, but how you play is up to you. Hey, this is Gale Nelson, President and CEO of Big Brothers Big Sisters Miami, and the host of The Game of Life mentoring podcast, where everybody makes the team, but how you play is up to you. Last night was the NBA draft. Last night, players went to new teams, but what I'm thankful for is we have our team here in Miami, the Miami Heat. And I'm with me in the studio today as the Vice President and Executive Director of the Miami HEAT Charitable Fund, Basketball Operations, Steve Stowe. Welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you for having me here. I mean, ain't no mountain high enough. You just opened with something that brought me back. Before we even start, before we even dive into what we're going to talk about, that's 2006 for me.
Yes, sir.
Michael McDonald has played such an important role in our fundraising efforts.
Wow.
2006, we were blessed to have Michael McDonald perform a private concert in Pat Riley and Chris Riley's backyard. It was a fundraising event, and then 86 days after that show, won our first ever national world championship right there, the NBA champion. So he performed that song. Pat Riley's daughter, Elizabeth, sang it with him as a duet, and that was when Shaq was on the team. That year was unbelievable, and to see him in Pat's backyard and to be part of that special night really brought us to where we are, because now 11 years later, we've had Mary J. Blige, Earth, Wind & Fire, Kool and the Gang. That's our major gala, and Michael started it all by donating his time to us and performing for us. So that was a great song to open up.
Well,
this,
I tell you what,
podcast.
The beautiful part about podcasts is we have a conversation, and it's real. And when it comes to helping kids, when it comes to partnerships, literally ain't no mountain high enough.
Right, you're right.
And so when you think about that, Steve, how long have you been with the Heat brand? Talk to me.
This is going to be my 20th season. I started in 1999, and I was fortunate to move into the new arena with them for that January game of 2000.
Incredible. So when you all moved into the AAA, just tell us what life was like, back then, as we think about just the brand, the Heat brand. Now, how old is the Heat brand?
Yeah, so we're over 31 years.
31 years.
I was thinking about that this week. I was talking to somebody when we worked out of SunTrust in downtown. It was not called the SunTrust building anymore, but our offices were in the SunTrust Tower, and we used to have to walk or drive over to the arena from SunTrust because our offices weren't at the arena until August of 2000. So if you figure, we actually played half a season in the arena, in the American Airlines arena, while our offices were still downtown. So I remember downtown Miami at that time. I wasn't as health conscious as I am now. I'd go down around 3 o'clock for a hot dog from the hot dog stand, go back up. But it was just an interesting time. The arena was bare bones. It's really transcended the NBA as far as global arenas are concerned. And geographically, there's no building better placed than that arena on the bay. And to really have the teams that we've had go through there, and if you go back to the year 2000 and just really see how the downtown Miami skyline has changed, or just the communities have changed, and to be with the team for these 20 years and to see the highs and lows and the players come and go, and different coaches now move on to different things, and we have our Heat culture tentacles all over the world, all over the league.
Yes, you do.
All over college basketball. And I feel I'm dating myself. The gray beard makes me feel old.
No, it's kind of Michael McDonald-ish,
yeah,
if
I
you will,
probably
brother.
look like him now after all these years. But it's amazing now. The players coming in are much younger than me, than when I started out. And just to see our players grow and do so many different things in their careers beyond basketball, it's just been very, very fortunate for me to be part of the team for all these years.
No, it's wonderful when you think about those tentacles being extended so far. The impact on college basketball.
Right.
Shout out to Juwan, and we certainly wish him the best.
I was just talking to him this morning.
Were you really?
About Father's Day, and how he
Nice.
had over so many text messages that he can't even get to all of them. And what a great homecoming for him. I know how important that Michigan school is to him. I went to University of Florida, and if I joke with him about Florida beating Michigan, it wasn't such a joke.
It wasn't so funny
to him. So, I grew up in Miami, so I'm also a Hurricane fan. But with Juwan, that's something that we're so happy that he's going to take his, being a coach and bringing his family there and being able to teach kids that are going to college. They're very lucky. They really are. They got somebody who's not only going to recruit well for them, but that championship caliber and pedigree that he's been around. There's no coach like that in college basketball.
That's exactly
right.
Coming
into it.
And it goes back to the Heat being family. I mean, how you all are impacting. I mean, you watch an NBA game, and not only will it be, a former Heat player maybe on the broadcast, but now you're talking about other coaches in the league that were former Heat assistants that are doing their thing now. But one of the things, it just speaks to family. And as we think about family in the Miami Heat, this community, what does community mean to the Heat? Because you talk about that bandwidth, but it's just such a diverse Miami community, but the Heat is right smack dab in the middle of it.
You're right. I mean, look, I was born and raised here, like I said, and something that I take very near and dear to me is being able to have a position with the Heat where I'm able to talk to our players about the community and explain to them the different areas and kind of get their feet situated so that their brand coincides with our brand. And as you know, South Florida is so diverse. There's so many different pockets, whether you're going, to South Miami, North Miami, Miami Beach, out west, up to Palm Beach, down to the Keys. South Florida really is so different. You go a mile and it's completely different.
That's right.
It's really something that our players pride themselves in, where they're here to play on the court, but at the same time they buy into what our process is, and that's family and culture. And it comes hands-on from the top with the Harrison family, the Riley family. Players see it. Players see them out in the community. It's not always when the cameras are there. It's not always for a ribbon cutting. A great story is when Pat Riley and I went down to mile marker about 20 after Hurricane Irma, another untold story that we raised funds for a lot of the destruction that happened down there, rebuilt a school, Big Pine Academy, that got destroyed, had 100 students at this school, a very small school. So, when our players hear and see these things firsthand, these are things that they come to me and say, hey, how can I help? What can I do? I'm interested in this. And that's part of my job at the Heat, is to make sure that these players are put in a position to succeed. And it's kind of like mentoring. I consider myself a mentor to our players, where we're developing them as players, and we have the best in the NBA hands down on the court. And we also have the best in the business, is how we develop them as men, how we develop them as human beings, how we develop them as fathers, brothers. And that's something that is not easy to do. And it takes about 20 years to learn how to interact with people from all different parts of the United States, all different, economic upbringings and things like that. And Miami's a great place to do that in, because you have so many different communities here that can help.
When you think about the Heat being such a trailblazer, if you will, and I think about Big Brothers, Big Sisters of Miami, and we've been in this community for 61 years. You pair that with the Miami Heat, you're talking 92 years of success. Think about that, from almost a century. And I was talking to my colleagues around the country, and most recently with Big Brothers, Big Sisters of America, and they were talking about the NBA and the NBA brand. And they said they could think of no better example of community and partnership, Steve, than what we're doing here in Miami with the Miami Heat. And when you think about the small world in which we live, you mentioned the Harrison family, you mentioned the Riley family. When I think of Carnival, when I think of the Miami Heat, the space we are in right now, brother, the Carnival Center for Excellence, and in the space on the first floor, specifically the Miami Heat Big Fitness Center. So we're helping real kids and families through health and wellness, and through mentoring, and through just the opportunity we have to just take them to the next level. I mean, that's got to feel special to you.
I mean, it's so rewarding. I mean, you're touching upon everything that matters to us. We joke around about Michael McDonald performing in a backyard. Or we talk about a family festival that took place on Miami Beach in the sand, and maybe you had a truck stuck, or this happened or that happened. But when you come to a building like this, and those dollars are critically needed to support something like this, or the dollars that we raise enable us to have people in the community say, hey, the Heat does this, or we can't believe the Heat did that. It's because of those events. And for us to be able to put our players in that position to raise funds for the community. That's what it's about, and it's really, really nice to see not only Big Brothers Big Sisters as one of our benefiting charities here, but many others, and there's a lot of synergies, and you guys do an amazing job, and we're happy to be part of it. And I'm personally so thrilled to be here today, and to see where our dollars go.
Absolutely.
And to see how it actually affects interns and kids, and to think the hard work that we do, which is hard, and everyone that does their own jobs, every job is hard. But to know that, like I said, it matters, to know that the job matters, where you can touch children and touch staff by not even knowing them.
That's right.
By knowing that I've had an impact here through the team, through the players, it's very, very rewarding to us.
And I will say this podcast was created, and here we are with Steve Stowe, Vice President, Executive Director, Miami HEAT Charitable Fund, and basketball operations. And if you want to join the team and get involved in the space of mentoring, health, and wellness, look no further than the team, 305-644-0066. Get involved while you still have a chance, because there was a draft last night. But, Steve, let me tell you something. The draft for mentors and those who want to help kids in the space of health and wellness and otherwise we're always open, if you will. But let me just say this to you. In the context of just basketball and business, and what we're doing here in this space in partnership with the Miami Heat, you've gone through a lot of transition. You've seen a lot of transition in the years you've been with the brand, and next year is going to be a little interesting. Again, when you think about Dwayne Wade's retirement and all of that, just let's walk us through some of those key transitions you've seen as part of the Heat brand.
It's great because we're talking like this, and this is a great setting to talk about things like this. And a lot of people think the NBA season ended for us. I hate to say it ended in April.
Right.
The NBA season just ended. The draft just took place. And a lot of people think I go on vacation till September, October. That's the funny part. Thank you for laughing, because NBA is 12 months a year.
Yes, sir.
We have the Summer League coming up. You have free agency. You just had the draft. You had draft workouts. You're preparing already for the season 12 months a year. So just like you, there really isn't an off season.
No, sir.
And I think a lot of people have a hard time understanding, how is it if the season ends in April or May? What do you do in the summer? And for instance, we have a young man by the name of Yante Mayton right now that I'm sure a lot of people have not heard of. He's undrafted, kind of like a Udonis Haslem.
Okay.
Undrafted. What an amazing human being. Beautiful person. And he's got a real interest in feeding the homeless and serving the homeless community. Young man. I think he's 22 years old. And I've already gone out with him numerous times in the off season. Whether it's Camilla's House, Chapman Partnership for the Homeless, under a bridge downtown with security taking us, and getting his hands and feet in the community where no one sees it, and that's what it's about. Because when it comes time to the season starting, and he's pulling down doubles and doing amazing stuff on the court, you'll know his name then.
Right.
But now there's people that are in our backyard of the American Airlines Arena that he's their favorite player on our team. Now, how amazing is that? We have players like Dwayne Wade. We have huge names that have come through our doors.
That's
and
right.
To hear that someone says Yante is my favorite Heat player because he just came and served me dinner. Those are the stories that, you get goosebumps thinking about it, because that's what we're about. And it's not about what everyone sees, on TV or on the broadcast or on the court when they're playing. These are the real stories where Yante goes back to the locker room and tells Kendrick or tells, Duncan, hey, come with me next week. I'm going to go do this. And maybe they get inspired to do something else. And that's what you said, the Heat family and the Heat culture. Pat's aware of this. Andy Ellsberg's aware of this. Our business side is aware of the things that we do, the things they do with you. So these are the things that happen year-round. And to be able to take a 22-year-old man and show him South Florida, hands-on, putting plastic gloves on and an apron in the hot heat of the summer. He doesn't have to do that. It's not something that he's required to do. And they're working out this summer. They're preparing every day with our staff and getting better. Coach Spo's motto is getting 1% better every day. That we all buy into, and we all try and do something to get 1% better in. And even me being here today, I feel like I got 1% better because I'm probably helping someone listening to this, thinking that they could mentor, or they could do something maybe that they didn't think of doing, or be creative. And that's what our players do. It's not just, I'm trying to explain to everyone listening, it's not just what happens on the court. There's so much to our brand and so much to the brand essence of the Miami Heat that really takes place off the court.
Steve, I love it. And as I think about, so what you're saying in essence is it's bigger than basketball.
It's way bigger than basketball.
Way bigger than basketball.
I mean, that ball has done so much for so many people.
Yes, it has.
That small, round, orange thing that I love, that I could kiss and hug and sleep with, has done so much for so many people. And that ball can take you around the world, and it has taken me around the world. It's taken me to places that I've never, even in my wildest dreams, thought I've been to. We did 4 years of basketball clinics in Manila with Coach Spoelstra and Coach Fizdale and Coach Dan Craig during the championship run. And we've played games in Brazil and China and Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic, clinics all over the Caribbean. I mean, so it's amazing. You know, the sport of basketball, all you really need is a hoop, as you know, and a ball. That's it. Right. You don't need anything else. Some countries, you don't even need shoes. So to see kids playing basketball barefoot, or basketball in flip-flops, or so many people come together for a ball, you know, that to me, that's when I know that we're involved in an industry that's powerful.
That's
right.
That
we're able to get people excited about the draft, gets people excited to talk about what's taking place come October, which I don't know. We don't know. We're going to have a great team. We don't know yet. But these are things that people look forward to, and it helps us raise the critical funds for things like this building here.
That's
to help us with our partners.
And when you think about partnership, and I'll end with just a big thank you to the HEAT Charitable Fund and the HEAT brand. But this is a mentoring podcast. And what I say on every show is a mentor is a trusted friend and counsel, that coach, that friend. And we all can relate to mentoring.
Right.
But now one of the things I want all of our guests and listeners, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, IG, to understand is that everybody that sits in that seat, and we've had everybody from police chiefs to heads of corporations sitting in that podcast seat, Steve, where you're sitting right now, and I ask them this same question. Who mentored you?
Right.
And as I think about what you're doing now and how you and the team, impact so many people, who mentored you, Steve? What did they teach you?
Well, obviously, my number one mentor were my parents, my father.
That. Amen.
They mentor me even on the way over here.
That's all right. They said, don't mess it up. Don't mess up Gale's podcast.
I'm still getting lectures, which is great. I love it. I embrace it.
What was Dad's advice?
You know what? It's way too much to get into, but not about the podcast. I get lectures daily.
Okay.
Love it.
That's good stuff.
Keep getting them. Keep giving them to me. I love it. But somebody who probably no one really knows was a mentor to me, and sometimes it doesn't always have to be someone that's older than you,
right.
or you know, us mentoring a young child. It could be us mentoring someone, a coach. It could be me mentoring someone older than me, or me mentoring someone in the community by just giving them, dropping a little knowledge that could help them. Maybe something that resonates. Maybe one thing that they'll come back to you 5 years from now and say, you told me that, and it really stuck with me. Thanks. You don't even know. So it doesn't have to be the big and little, like the traditional situation that we always talk about. But somebody who had a huge impact on my career, love him to death, got me involved with the Heat, was Stan Van Gundy.
Okay.
Was an assistant coach at the time with the Miami Heat. You know, Stan is a renegade. He is a straight shooter. He is the most forward, honest person, times to his fault that you could ever be around. And he's somebody that really taught me how to be, really brought me to the Heat. I'm very fortunate to be around the folks who I've mentioned before, work for Pat Riley, Andy Ellisberg, Nick Arison. And by being around Stan that summer leading up to when I started at the Heat, kind of gave me a taste of what the Heat culture was about. And Stan said, hey, we're working together. We're doing this stuff. This doesn't mean, you're going to go anywhere with it. At the time, I actually just finished trading stocks. I was trading stocks, and I also finished up a couple years working in the marketing department of the Florida Panthers.
Oh, okay.
So it was a real transitional time with the Miami Arena. I actually met some folks at the Miami Heat We shared a building at the time, the year of the rat. Actually, Scott Mellenby, if you want to even go further back, a player on the Florida Panthers, was a person that had a tremendous role in my career. Sometimes it doesn't even have to be something that you said. He actually, if you remember, killed a rat at the Miami Arena with his hockey stick back in 1996, I believe.
I remember that.
And because of that unfortunate incident for that rat, people started throwing plastic rats onto the ice because he got a hat trick that night, and his stick was lucky or blessed, and they called it a rat trick.
Wow.
And part of my job at the time was to really assist with that Panther Patrol, and that rat phenomenon really catapulted my sports industry career even before Stan. So it's amazing how, I see interns out here, and they're on their phones or they're doing stuff. So when someone says, hey, I just need a start, or hey, I can't do it because I didn't graduate college, or I didn't have this, or I didn't have that. Opportunities are always there.
Always.
They are everywhere. You just have to learn how to look, and the mentors will help you look. But it's not about the mentors getting you that job. The mentors will give you that little nugget or the little push, like Stan did for me. But now for the next 20 years, I've been fortunate to be around Pat Riley. And that is someone who's an iconic legend, not only in basketball but in life. The motivational speeches that he gives, the being able to see him daily, see him today, see him tomorrow, and see how he interacts, something that you'll never be able to get from anybody. And I've been very fortunate to be around him for this long.
Does Pat just drop knowledge every day? He wakes up like, what are we having for breakfast? Well, first of all, bacon. You need to understand the nuances of bacon.
Probably, there's not a moment that you're around Pat Riley that you better be writing down what he's saying.
That's what I'm talking about.
Because, like you said, you could be having a cup of coffee. You could be walking down the hallway. He doesn't waste words. Every word out of his mouth means something. It's important. And whether you're having a one-on-one meeting with him, whether he's in a setting, he's taught me how to think 10 steps ahead.
It's beautiful.
He probably doesn't even know that he's taught me that. But the thing that I've learned is that you can't just think in the moment. If you're trying to learn about how to be a better person, how to be a better activist in this community, you can't just be like, okay, we're doing this right now. Where is this going to take me? You almost have to think like he does. And he's the most creative person to think 10 steps ahead of where your mind is at the time of the conversation. That's like a DNA inborn gift that he has that you could learn and get better at. But that's something that's really, really interesting to be around somebody that's so forward thinking. And the Miami Heat in general as well. We've been very blessed to have a great staff around us that we're the most trend-setting team in the NBA.
That's right.
Hardest working, most creative. If you see some of the work that my fellow coworkers do out in this community and out in the social networks, it's unbelievable. And it's something that we pride ourselves in, and it starts at the top, like you talked about.
And it's interesting, as we wrap this podcast up, as we think about just the incredible mentors. Let me just ask this: Stan or Jeff, who's funnier on the Van Gundy
That's
family?
A tough one. That is.
I don't. I'm sorry to throw trick questions at you, brother, but
Jeff, I know well too. Jeff is maybe more witty.
Okay.
Stan is more grumpy, funny.
That's what makes him funny too.
But yeah, Stan to this day, still, Stan, and you love him, and it's just the Van Gundy brothers. But I guess Jeff maybe is more the TV on air.
No, he cracks me up.
Yeah, he has to have that. But they're both a great family, and no, Stan is someone that the main thing that I learned from him was be honest.
There you go.
Speak your mind. Speak your voice. Let people hear you. They may not like it,
but they're going to hear it.
They may not want to hear what you have to say. Doesn't matter. Like, say it. No one's ever going to fault you for talking about what you believe in. And that's hard these days. We're living in a world that's totally different right now than it was a month ago, a year ago. It's tough. It's like growing up now with all of this, the viral videos, and, you talk about, whether it's police departments, fire departments, whatever it is, comedians being filmed saying stuff. It's a different time, and I feel we live in a very afraid time where people are, should I laugh at that? Was it funny? Or
That's
am
exactly
I allowed
right.
to? Or what are people going to say if I wear this? Or, what are they going to think? Yeah, it is true. People will think. People will have an opinion.
And everybody will have an opinion.
And everybody will. But I've made a career on being who I am.
There you go.
I'm a very quiet person. That's why I like coming on this podcast, get to talk about some things that maybe you have never not known about me.
No doubt.
And that people don't know about me. But I think that if you're able to speak your mind, be who you are, be true to who you are, speak your truth, be comfortable in your own skin, that will lead to a successful career in anything.
And that's the beauty of mentoring. When you think about from a space of trust, a space of friendship,
absolutely,
you can have differences of opinion, and regardless of politics or anything else, it's a matter of you just sit and you respect.
Right.
And I think the beauty of social media is you get a platform to talk to so many. The dangers are you may have a lot of artificial relationships.
Right.
And so when you meet those people like the Stan Van Gundy's of the world, the Pat Rileys of the world, folks, the Steve Stowes of the world, it's important to have those real, authentic relationships that where you're encouraged to speak your truth.
You're right. You said a great thing there, because a lot of people maybe think they know somebody because they're friends with them on Instagram, or, hey, I could direct message this person. No. Relationships are something that are way more important than anything. And being able to pick up the phone or being able to talk to somebody actually face to face is a skill that it bothers me so much. We're getting away from it.
That's right.
So if I could encourage anybody listening or anybody that I come in contact with, I always tell them to make a point of maybe don't send the text or talk to someone in person. We live in an easy society. Uber Eats, you order everything on your phone. You don't even have to talk. You don't have to talk to anybody anymore.
That's right.
But I think being able to communicate.
Mm-hmm.
We say it all the time. Communication is key.
It's critical.
It's not just a cliche. That's a skill that you have to practice, and it's not just saying hang my hat on. I'm a bad communicator, so that's why this happened, or I'm not so good at communication. That's why I got divorced, or hey, my friend said no. It's something we could improve upon, and whether you're 18, whether you're 50, 75. I think you get better communication all the time. So that's a key in mentoring, is being able to speak your mind, be able to be comfortable in your own skin, and be able to live with who you are and get through the things that you're going through.
On a recent podcast that someone mentioned to me, Steve, and it was powerful. They said, you know what, I realized that the people I'm friends with on social media, I only see what they want me to see.
Yeah.
What they post.
Yeah.
They may not post them having struggles, but they just post. And so I think it's important and imperative as we think about partnership, family,
right,
and the next level. The partnership we have in the health and wellness space with the Miami Heat is as real as it gets.
Right.
In the mentoring space. And as we think about the sport of basketball, and I love what you did with the, this little orange ball that has done so much for so many people.
Yeah.
And for those listening, Steve, what's your message to those who are quote unquote on the sideline, have not gotten involved in Miami's community, not involved in the philanthropic or the volunteer space? What's your message to them, brother?
Well, I say it all the time. What you just mentioned, the unintended consequence of really posting all of these great things is that you do have people probably getting depressed, or people not feeling worthy, or that they matter. So my message to that is, first of all, look in the mirror and really find out what it is that you're comfortable in.
Yes.
What do you love to do? Because everybody loves to do something. You are what you do.
That's right.
You, the people you surround yourself with are important. What you think about grows. So first figure out what it is that you love to do, and figure out a way how you can turn that into either a career, turn it into like Deontay, who we talked about. Maybe he's going to do something in the homeless space down the road. I don't know. Maybe he's getting inspired from a conversation he had with me about serving dinner at a shelter. But so it's find out what ask yourself. And it's not a question that maybe you can answer right away. Find out what you love to do. Be inspired. Maybe so many people start businesses because of an opportunity they see. It's something that you have to think about, that you are going to love to do 24 hours a day, and immerse yourself in it. Basketball happens to be one that I immerse myself in. My wife makes fun of me because she thinks, I watch too much, or I see too much, or how much can you be around, or this, but no, it's something that I immerse myself in. So I want to keep up to date on what's going on. And now you can with social media and figure out what's going on. So before you do anything, find out something that you love to do and turn that into a passion. And maybe that turns into career. Maybe it doesn't. But I guarantee you this, if you love doing something, it will benefit you somehow.
Yes, it will.
Through exposure, whether it's through meeting somebody, relationships.
Yes.
That by far, as you know, in what you do here, you've done the most fantastic job.
Thank you, brother.
Of building those relationships. I mean, I hear your name all over town. In a great way of what you've been able to do. I don't know how you do it. Like seeing the work that you do, I don't think there's one of you. There's probably like
that's why I started this podcast, brother. So I can't be at lunch in 20 different places, but I can reach people through the podcast.
I think there's another twin you have out there that because you're everywhere. So congratulations on all that.
Well, no, I appreciate Steve and you coming in today, and I just want to say a very special thank you to the Miami HEAT Charitable Fund for all you do throughout the South Florida community. Continue to ignite, and you all are literally helping us ignite potential. In July, we look forward to doing something real special in the health and wellness space. We'll be talking more about that, maybe even do a live podcast somewhere. We'll have some fun with that. And now, what month? And now, when we think about, there's never an off season. When do the guys hit the court again, if you will? What month is that?
So they're still on the court.
Well,
now.
I know they're on the court.
Yeah,
I mean,
we're
preparing.
so September, late September, we'll start media day in our training camp.
See, what I love about that was a trick question. It was a loaded question because we started the show with Michael McDonald. Ain't no mountain high enough. No. And you mentioned a few groups and bands that were in Pat Riley's backyard. And so it's only appropriate that I close out this podcast today. We started with Michael McDonald, but you mentioned the key month. So what month is that again where they get back on the court?
Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Well, brother, we have to close the show.
You're way overqualified for this podcast.
Let me tell you something. The game of life where everybody makes a team, but how you play is up to you. Steve Stowe, thank you for being on the show today.
My favorite month, September.
And my favorite month is by far September. Let's go.
Virgos.
This is the Game of Life.